My guest writes, and I'm quoting, if the democratic logic of preventing homicides is predicated on banning particular weapons, they should really focus on hammers, knives, hands, fists, feet, etc. Data from the FBI show that more people are killed from those weapons than from rifles, of which assault weapons are a small subset, end of quote. Please welcome the Washington Examiner's Christopher Trimoli. All right, Christopher, you know what you've done now. You've given them an idea. Hammer control. Hammer control.
Yep, that's it. Hammer and knives control. It's coming soon to a country near you. Yes. So everything, obviously, we know is going on with the shootings in Nashville, unfortunately, and whatnot. And they're very tragic. But what I kind of objected to is the fact that Democrats came out and immediately do what they do to exploit every tragedy to push up their own political agenda and narrative. And if they're the whole, looking to ban guns is pretty much based on saving lives and all the people that are killed by guns, which, there is a solid argument to be made for there. But if their overall premise is to save lives, then in that case, we got to look at other weapons which are actually being used to kill more people than assault rifles. And like I said, we don't hear, the stats that I quote are from the FBI's Bureau of Justice statistics that they track.
When you hear the term, Chris, assault weapon, what do you think it means? What do you think they think it means?
I think everything's an assault weapon, right? Like anytime you use a weapon against someone, it's pretty much an assault weapon. So that's always been the left is very masterful at coining terms and marketing. That's one thing they have that the right doesn't do. They do these great buzzwords and marketing to kind of get their point across. And they marketed this whole assault weapon, assault rifles, all these types of things. But if we were looking about saving lives, shouldn't we then be looking at weapons that are used to use more to kill people more than the assault rifles are, and that's pretty much where the hammers and knives and the statistics come in. They are used more. More people are killed by them, and not one you ever hear hardly on widespread news reports of such and such was killed with a hammer today, or a certain amount of hundreds of people die each year from hammers. So it's doing what the left typically does. They fight on something. They're using big anti-gun, the anti-gun lobby. No one ever really talks about this. It's always you hear the gun lobby, the NRA, but the anti-gun lobby is probably at this point more profitable than the gun lobby is, and they have their own agenda and marketing. That's what they're doing by pushing this whole banning assault rifles, getting rid of guns.
Biden says that he led the charge in getting the so-called assault weapons ban implemented in 1994. And from 1994 to 2004, when it was repealed, Biden claims that mass shootings went down. I've not seen the numbers that say that. In fact, it seemed to me it had no effect whatsoever. But what's your take?
Well, we know Biden is the epitome of truth. So, but yeah, I would actually counter that with the fact that these types of mass shootings that we've seen started during that time. Columbine was 1997, I think, 1997, 1998, somewhere around there. I forget off the top of my head. So that would be right in the middle of the truthful Biden's post on that he was talking about. And I think several years after that, in 2000, 2001, there were other shootings as well. So if that's the case, then that also failed. I would even go back more recently. People seem to forget this, but in June 2022, May 2022, Biden and the Democrats passed gun reform. They all touted the gun reform laws that they passed, and they say, and every one of them said it as if it was a rehearsed piece of literature. They all said this reform is going to save thousands of lives. Well, if we pass that reform and we're still having the same issues now that we were then, what good did it do? And furthermore, what good would more laws do if the one you just said was going to save thousands of lives really hasn't worked at all? So it's obviously said just all. They're preaching to the people that think like they do, and they're exploiting tragedy to get people that don't think like they do to try to sway public opinion. And it's unfortunate, and it's not genuine, and doesn't come based on the facts that are available.
Inflation has consequences. As the Fed raises interest rates to combat out-of-control government spending, long-term bonds have diminished in value, crippling banks. Depositors are holding their breath, and investors are bailing on bank stocks. Diversification has never been more important. And the recent surge in gold prices is directly tied to the extreme market volatility right now. This is why gold has historically been a great hedge against the stock market and against inflation. Now would be a fantastic time to diversify into gold with Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold makes it easy to convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in precious metals. Here's what you need to do. Just visit LarryForGold.com to get a free info kit on gold. They'll help you convert your existing IRA or 401k that's tied to a volatile market into an IRA in physical precious metals, gold and silver. And the best part, it's tax sheltered. So visit LarryForGold.com to claim your free info kit on gold today with an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of happy customers, and countless 5-star reviews. Birch Gold is who you can trust to protect your future. Visit LarryForGold.com today. That's LarryForGold.com. Last thing, Chris. When the shooting at the Christian school took place in Nashville, I heard repeatedly that guns are the number one killer of quote-unquote children. It is true if you define a child as somebody who's 17, 18, 19, many of whom are often tried as adults. But if you look at, find a child at the age of 12 or under, which is what I think of when you hear the word children, more of them die from drownings, more of them die from car accidents than from firearms.
Yeah, and it's this thing, and they use it's like what they did with Trayvon Martin. They try to get the idea that these poor innocent people are suffering, and I don't want to confuse or say I'm disregarding the poor innocent people who did parent families from Nashville, because that is tragic, and that should be. We do have to come to some kind of compromise or agreement to prevent these things from happening. Both sides, Democrats, Republicans, whatever we're doing now is not working, and I think any logical, normal person would agree with that. These things shouldn't be happening. My thing is, and it's always been, is one, guns are used, and in this whole gun argument that everyone talks about, the guns, main people, why people want them is to protect them from bad people, to protect them from bad. You never hear that argument in the mainstream media. Why do people? They're not going out, the legal gun owners, the normal people, they're not going out using them to like assault people or go after other people. They want them to defend themselves. And if you look at statistics, I think actually the CDC just took this down recently due to the anti-gun lobby pressure from them, that guns were used significantly more times to save lives than they are used to take them in like a nefarious way. The other thing we have to look at is the Second Amendment has been around since December 1791. These types of mass school shootings didn't start until, I think, Columbine, 1997. There have been school shootings before that. I think there was over 200 school shootings from the 1790s up into the 1990s, but they weren't the type of school shootings that you see today. They were basically, a lot of these instances were acts of vengeance or acts of revenge. A teacher, disciplined a student, a parent, went back and went after them. Right. Not to the same that I'm encouraging anything like that, but it's not the same as like someone walking into a school and then just killing a bunch of students. That's not what was going on. So if it was okay for 206 years, why all of a sudden in the past 26 or so has there been this issue? And that leads me to believe that it's obviously not the guns, but there's something else going on there. And that's what we have to figure out, prevent these things.
Christopher Tremoli, Washington Examiner. As always, Christopher, thank you very much for coming on.
No problem. Thanks.
You got it. Now, I know you like the show, so please hit that like button. Also, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get our subscriptions up. And then scroll down a little bit and get on our mailing list. That way you can make sure you don't miss any of our videos. Also, hit that donate button. Throw a little something in the tip jar. Make sure we continue giving you hard-hitting, candid, honest programming. Finally, Larry with Epoch, EPOCH, Larry with Epoch.com. I'm Larry Elder. This has been the Larry Elder Show for Epoch Times. Remember, we've got a country to save. I'll see you next time. God bless.